So I'm also going to record, but I would like us to back up record. So there's multiple recordings that get emailed to you and to Michaela and to me, okay?
Sounds good.
If you have privacy issues or concerns, you're welcome to change your name to only a first name, only a last name, only to anything that isn't designed to be like, bend over or, I don't know, Amanda hug and kiss or some of those jokes that Bart Simpson used to use on The Simpsons. So, in other words, if you are worried about being video recorded in today's event and want to maintain your anonymity, turn off your camera and change your name, and that's fine by me. Does that make sense? Somebody please nod. Thank you. All right. In your email, you received a few questions. And Michaela and Quinn are going to kind of walk us through how they're going to ask those questions. And then eventually they're going to edit together some short, exciting videos about aesthesis and the people behind it. How does that sound? Is that dramatic enough? Which we will use on the Facebook site. If you've not visited the Facebook site, it's gone from receiving like, I don't know, a hit a month, one visit a month, to I don't know, several a week, which in the one hand is small potatoes and on the other hand is huge potatoes. We've also got, I think, about a dozen submissions in, and I've stopped sending around emails asking who wants these because they're just coming in too fast. At this point, if you're getting pieces and you're going, wait, my racy matrix says I did my part, somebody else should be doing more. Please, talk to people in your group and talk to me, and I'll reassign it to somebody else. Does that make sense? So if I'm sending it to you, that doesn't mean I want you to do more. It just means that your racy matrix isn't up to date or something else isn't up to date, and I'm just sending it to people who I think don't have something yet. Does that make sense? Okay. Excellent. Thanks for those of you who are nodding.
Sorry to interrupt. Could you quit
No, go ahead.
kicking Michaela out? Because she said she can't get in, but I can see her on my screen.
Well, there's two Michaelas.
Michaela Sunley.
Michaela Sunley is here. I see Michaela Sunley. And I see Michaela Taylor too. Wait, so Michaela Sunley is here, but said she can't get in?
She said she can't get in, but it says she's in on this screen for some reason.
Let me check my email. Oh, it looks like Nick is over in the other room too, maybe. So I will send Nick a link. And you say Michaela Sunley is probably not here somehow?
Yeah.
I will send them a message. All right. I guess that'll get us started. Do we have this Matt person here yet?
Yep, Matt is here.
Where is he?
How's it going? Can you hear me all right? Is my audio coming through fine?
Oh, hey, that's a new.
We can hear you.
That's strange, but strange to me. Hi there. Nice to meet you. You're a survivor.
I made it through. Yes, sir.
There's a song. I'm a survivor. Da, 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 da. Okay, good job. Congratulations. I'm now going to stop talking until it's being spoken to and leave things up to Quinn and Michaela.
Okay. So hello, everybody. Welcome to our Q&A for publishing in the ACSIS Honors Journal. Quinn and I will be your hosts tonight as we ask our wonderful editorial board aesthesis alumnus Matt and Dr. Bahr questions all about the publishing process. So our first question will be for Dr. Bahr. What is aesthesis and how did it come to be?
Dr. Beard should have left his camera on, but that's why this is great that it's going to be edited. Aesthesis is the honors journal produced by the students from a variety of disciplines at the University of Minnesota, Duluth. It came to be because we have, number one, an amazing honors program filled with the highest quality students. Number two, we encourage them to work on a variety of projects over their time here. There's some encouragement to work on service projects. There's encouragement to work on research projects. There's a capstone element to the program, and we kind of wanted to show them off. They're pretty good. But we also wanted to show off not just the work of these individual students, but to kind of take our place as one of the most innovative, exciting honors programs in the country. And so we invite students from all over the country to participate in aesthesis too. And so aesthesis comes to be both to represent the best of UMD and to, through UMD, to represent the best of the honors programs across the United States.
Following up on that, aesthesis is an interdisciplinary journal. What does that mean, and why is aesthesis interdisciplinary?
That is an interesting question. And it's an interesting question because to say aesthesis is interdisciplinary means mostly that it's home for the work of people from many disciplines, right? There are scientists and artists and literary critics and social work students and educators, education majors, and engineers all working on honors projects in this class. The journal works on making all of their work and the work of students in majors that aren't even at UMD, right? Because of course, not every major in the world is at UMD. It is the home for the work of students across disciplines.
Okay, next up, we will ask the board, what works can be submitted and what kinds of works have been submitted for consideration so far?
As far as possible submissions, any kind of academic field can be submitted, any kind of fine art can be submitted, creative writings can be submitted. I know that we've had creative writing that's been reviewed, at least through phase one, as well as a history writing scholarly work, and that's gone through phase one. So it's a whole wealth of options.
All right, now Matt, how about you? What kind of works did you see during submission review? And did you focus on a particular type of work in your review?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, aesthesis gets a ton of articles from all over the United States in all sorts of disciplines, like you mentioned, to review. So when I was on the board as a former editorial board review member, I was assigned to articles that I felt most comfortable reading and most knowledgeable about. So I'm an engineering major. So any articles that dealt with engineering or were heavy in STEM topics kind of got sent to my way or the way of other people who had similar interests. So I think aesthesis did a good job of, not everyone's an expert in everything, but trying to make people who are competent to review articles get a chance to read through those ones.
Very cool. For the board, I wanted to ask, what is the deadline for submissions and then who can submit to the journal?
Honor students in any academic programs or universities across the country are able to submit, and the deadline for submissions is March 10th at 11:59 p.m. Central.
So then our next question is for Dr. Bahr. Why did aesthesis decide to publish submissions from across the US? And how many submissions usually come in and get published?
Oh, usually is a complicated word, right? The high point, Matt, you can back me up on this one, I think. 200 submissions last year, is that right?
I remember just over 200. Yeah, right around there. Sounds about right.
From submissions all over the place, yeah?
Yeah, all over the United States, schools of all sorts of sizes, all sorts of majors, like you mentioned, that is interdisciplinary nature. So just a huge variety from all over.
And I'm going to be excessively honest in the next answer. And other students, I want you to chime in and talk me down. And I'm depending on Quinn and Michaela to decide whether honest is the best strategy here. Honesty is the best strategy. One of the most important reasons we publish as thesis is that we want to attract to UMD students of the caliber that have worked on aesthesis, right? I don't know how many of you considered whether or not UMD had an honors program, but when you decided to come to UMD, or whether the honors program was part of your decision to come here. But we believe that we want prospective students to look at UMD and to look at his thesis and say, I can do that kind of work too. Same thing with UROP Pro Graduates and other things. Am I wrong in saying that? Did that play a role for you guys?
Personally, I had no idea that aesthesis was a thing until, not gonna lie, this semester. So it did not have any weight in my coming to UMD. I also didn't know that the honors program was a thing until like my sophomore year. So yeah, I think maybe this is a good opportunity that we could use more to target high school students, definitely, and maybe try to pair even with like local high schools and doing projects where they review work done by students. But yeah, I think that is a really awesome opportunity.
Not gonna lie, my heart is a little broken, but that's okay. Anybody else have a I came to UMD in part because of the honors program story? Anyone?
I will say that I knew I was, my mom had gone to her master's program at UMD. So I knew I was going to apply to UMD no matter what. It was on my list. But I stumbled upon the honors page while I was looking at different things that UMD offered. And I will say that it was very exciting. And I was hoping while I was applying that I would be eligible to either apply or was reached out to, and I was reached out to apply to the honors program. So I will say that it was a little bit of sprinkles on top of the cupcake of UMD, for me at least.
I had went my senior year of high school, someone who had gone to my high school before me was a student here, and he was an honors student, and he came back to my high school to do his like aesthesis research honors project at our school, which was to write a short play after doing research. And so I was in that project working on it, and so it was the reason I decided to check out UMD to begin with. And I wasn't necessarily intentionally going for the honors program, but I kind of was like, oh, I really want the opportunity to have projects like that. So I joined the honors program so that I, had the resources and opportunities available to me to work on projects like that. So that was, mine's kind of really jointly related, but yeah.
Is there anyone else who would like to say their own story, or are we all good? Okay, next question. This will be from Matt and the board. How did you find out about aesthesis and decide to participate in the journal?
Sure, I can go first. So I was, like I said, a former member of the UMD honors program. And when I found out about the opportunity to be involved, I thought it was just a great opportunity, one that I couldn't pass up, honestly. So I enrolled in the class that you all are in right now as editorial board members. And it was a really great experience. And through that, I also decided to submit a paper to be reviewed during that same quarter or that same semester.
It's okay to admit you're only in here because you needed advanced writing credit. That's an okay story.
I decided to join the class in part because I wanted to get experience with journals and understand academic journals more thoroughly than I had before. So that was one of the big deciding factors behind my joining this class and the editorial board.
I am here for the credit, but I do like I'm kind of an English major. I'm an interdisciplinary studies major, but English is one of those, and I really like the workshopping editing process. So now that I know that we're working on the journal, I'm really excited to work with folks on the review process, because I think it'll help me in my future, career exploits of like what I might do in the literary field or something along those lines.
Yeah, I took this class because it would help me for the credit, and then it would also help me keep on track with my senior research project. So
yeah, it was a nice surprise to I didn't realize taking this class we'd get so much like advice on how to do our capstone project. So I kind of appreciate that too from signing up for this class.
Yeah, it definitely, for me, it was also because like it's my last semester, so I need the credit. But I was very put on to taking the class just because it would help me keep on track with my senior capstone and really keep me accountable for my schedule on getting it done.
I'll just add a bit here in a way that will sound good if it's recorded somewhere. Students enrolled in WRIT 3180, Advanced Writing for Honors Students, both receive an opportunity to work on their own projects on aesthesis and complete the university's upper division writing requirement, all at the same time.
Anyone else want to share?
I also was taking this class because it counted for honors and also advanced writing. I didn't realize that we were gonna get to become part of a board, an editorial board, which is super exciting because I was able to do actually a bunch of editing last year with a professor working specifically in an anthropological journal. So it's really exciting to get to see an interdisciplinary journal that maybe focuses on something outside of my major or something that I would typically see. So I really appreciate that experience and getting further editing experience, which editing really makes you a better writer too. So that's a great part about this program.
All right, anyone else? All right, so then Matt, would you tell us a little bit about the work you published in the journal and a little bit what it was like to be on the editorial board?
Yeah, definitely. So 2 parts to the question. First, what did I submit? And it sounds super dry and boring, but as a civil engineering major, one of my interests is like the construction of roads. So my submission is a scientific paper research on the construction of layers of roads, and specifically the bottommost layer, which is called the subgrade, and how moisture fluctuations in that particular layer of the road affect the overall performance of the road, down the line many years, how that sort of happens. So one of the great things about ACE thesis is that I could submit my paper, which is, honestly, a lot of people might not find it that interesting, but I think it is still a useful piece of research. And I definitely found it interesting, and hopefully a few other people found it the same way. So like that's another great thing about the interdisciplinary nature, is that my article was right next to an article that had nothing to do with STEM at all, and nothing to do with engineering, certainly nothing to do with like roads or anything like that. So that was really cool. And the second part of the question was what it was like to be on what was the second part again? Sorry.
What it was like to be on the editorial board.
Right, being on the editorial board. So I'm not gonna lie, it was a lot of work because as Professor Beard brought up, we had over 200 submissions, and it was quite a task to narrow them down because there were, a lot of them, but also a lot of good submissions. So it was difficult to parse through all of them, you know, slowly narrow the pool down more and more and more until we, as a group, came to a consensus on which ones we felt were the best written and the best research papers. So it was a lot of work, but it was really fulfilling as well. A lot of reading, but at the end of the day, it was something that, being on the board, I was really proud of our results and what we came to as a class as a final deliverable. And I would also want to mention, just for the record, that the article that I submitted, I was never involved in the review process. There was no like conflict of interest there or anything. I just want to put that out there, that I wasn't like backing my paper the whole time. I never actually got to be in on the decision for my submission. But yeah, so 2 different aspects of it that I got to be involved with, and both of them were great experiences, and I have no regrets. Definitely recommend submitting it and taking this class to be on the board if you have the opportunity.
Okay, and another question for the board. How do you guys decide on what to publish for the journal? And then would some of you like to share a little bit about what you're writing for the journal?
I can share a little bit about what I'm writing for the journal. So I'm doing a cross-cultural comparative study on elder care practices in the United States, Norway, and Morocco. And I'm looking specifically at 3 different cities of similar size, so about 80 to 90,000 people. So I'm looking at Duluth in Minnesota, the United States, and Fredrikstad in Norway, as well as Sefro in Morocco. And so I'm doing this through obviously reviewing the current research and literature that is out there, as well as conducting surveys and interviews to get firsthand accounts from both caregivers and care receivers, as well as to understand the cultural setting of how elder care is perceived from my surveys, which are going out to anyone that's 18 plus, that is independent and takes care of themselves, just to get a sense of like, are elders respected in the community, and what do people typically do for their elder care once they cannot care for themselves anymore. So that's what I'm working on for the journal.
So then how do you guys decide on what to publish for the journal?
I'll take that one for a second, but then I want to squeeze some of these folks to talk about their projects more, because we're going to suck at presenting ourselves like an interdisciplinary journal if only 2 students summarize their projects. So there's 2 layers of review. The first layer of review, members of the editorial board read a piece, and they offer a yay or nay to a second layer of review. Pieces that are approved for a second layer review are sent to external evaluators, people not on the editorial board, sometimes affiliated with UMD, but not necessarily affiliated with UMD, chosen for their expertise in the topic area. And they read it with an eye like an expert to ascertain whether it meets the quality standards of the journal, at which point it will come back to the editorial board, who will review it. They will start to coordinate with the wonderful managing editors who are writing studies majors, who have taken up some of the kind of managerial labor of the journal. They'll manage the editorial process, working with the authors to get the revisions in, doing the page design and layout until the journal comes to fruition. But now, who can we poke to talk about their project? Let's see here.
I can talk about mine a little bit to spare someone for another few minutes.
All right, and then who's going to talk after you? Let's put them on deck.
I can talk to you about my project.
All right, that's awesome. Side note from Professor, don't forget that helping promote the journal in some way is one of the ways you get the final points in the class. It doesn't have to be here today, but here today is one of the ways to get those points.
So the project that I am developing was inspired a lot because of how important social change has become, especially over the past year in the middle of 2020, with several different movements gaining a lot of traction, including the Black Lives Matter movement, which led to many corporations putting out solidarity statements or statements saying that we are with this movement, we are championing this movement, and the research we're doing is to kind of delve into, I suppose, the sincerity of these statements. My advisor and I want to compare and see and look at, we're going to be going onto the Fortune 1000 list and looking at 600 plus corporations, seeing if they put out any solidarity statements for the Black Lives Matter movement that were then followed up with actual contributions made to social change movements, or if they were doing this to just save face or make them seem like they were, pro social change, but weren't really. And we'll also be investigating whether they made contributions to specific political candidates that were either revoked after, in light of certain events, or if they were continued, or if they were ceased and then restarted after so much time. So it's investigating how sincere corporations are when they're putting out solidarity statements for social change movements.
Okay, yeah, I can go next to talk about mine. So my research project is very discovery based. There's not much information on the field, but we are, me and my faculty mentor are looking to develop methods to detect bacteria in brain tumor samples. So it's rather controversial in general that there is bacteria in brain tumors and that bacteria can cross the blood-brain barrier. So we're hoping to look at these dog brain tumor samples and extract the DNA, then look at the DNA profile of it and that sequence, and pretty much determine what type of bacteria are in these samples. And we're hoping to specifically find Bartonella and Borrelia, which are these bacteria are like a co-infection of Lyme's disease. And this research itself, or looking at brain tumors, stemmed from my faculty mentor, the research she's done in the past few years, where she has looked at the bacterial profile of melanoma samples, and she has found Bartonella in those samples, which again relates to like people getting bitten by ticks. And there's this connection between bacteria and tumor development. So like areas where there are more ticks and more people getting Lyme's disease, there is like higher incidences of melanoma. So she's already done all of that research, and this developing the methods to detect bacteria in these brain tumor samples is the first step into, I guess, delving into this research further and taking this topic to the next level.
Sorry, you go.
I was just gonna share. I would like to say that I do not have a research topic yet, and this class has been a really good motivator on really hammering in that nail of what I want to do with the rest of my life. I've been on random tracks of, a bunch of different scientific disciplines. And now that this class and this journal is kind of, it's stressing me out, but in a good way, to figure out what I want to do as a project, because no one wants to work on a month-long project, possibly develop into an actual research project on something that they don't want to do or not interested in. So it's really been good for me to be in this class and be forced to talk to professors and read literature and just a whole bunch of these things to help me figure out what I want to do.
So my project, this class has been quite useful for narrowing down what I'm going to do. I've always, for the past 6 months or so, I've kind of known the region I'm going to go into for the capstone project. And the capstone project is for the honors program. But my project's on mercury bioaccumulation and mercury contamination in the sediment and how to remediate that. We've been looking at activated carbon, which is effectively like a charcoal you'd almost use for a grill. It's pretty similar to that. And so the project, for the longest time, I've been working on this project with a professor. It's his project, and I've known I wanted to do something similar to that. But this class has been super useful in narrowing down what I'm going to do, and to actually reading more literature and getting a more academic understanding of the principles that are being played out within our research. And so effectively what I've been able to do is start the URIT proposal, which is the undergraduate research proposal grant from the University of Minnesota. So this class has been very useful in that regards for me.
If only there were someone in this class doing a creative project who could talk to us about it, or someone doing, I don't know, I'm just hungry, maybe food trucks or something.
That would be me. I am writing, so my project for the research has to do with my other capstone project for my major, which is writing a musical, or the book and libretto of a musical. And it's about a mother-daughter who run a food truck and travel the United States. And so I need to do research on what is food truck culture? How does it affect the communities that these folks set up and essentially live in? What is nomadic life like? What's it like for a kid to grow up moving from state to state? What's it like for an adult woman who's trying to run a business to do that? And there's a whole other host of questions that I have specifically about locations. It's going to be primarily set in Portland and Denver. I've never been to either of those places, so I need to ask questions about what those places are like. I need to ask questions about what the food truck culture in those places is like. Ideally, I will go there, maybe not right now. That was going to be my research plan until COVID happened. So yeah, those are kind of some of the questions that I'm asking, and they're all I'm umbrellaing it underneath the question of how do we incorporate research into the creative writing process. So mine is going to be kind of this meta review about how to do research on, or doing research on how to do research and how to incorporate that research into a process that is not usually, associated with, I want to say, I mean, it's integral to the part of creative writing, but, usually people associate research with academic, STEM, all those kinds of things, but it's super important in the creative process. So that's my project, and I just rambled a ton, but yeah, I'm doing the creative fun. Not that the other stuff isn't fun. The other stuff's so fun, but that's what I'm doing.
All right, anyone else?
I could talk about mine, I guess, since I'm the only first year. I have been talking with my advisor about doing a music therapy research project. And so what we're planning on doing is taking a group of seniors, like the elderly community, and then college students to measure how their brain chemistry changes in relation to music. And so we are going to use cheek swabs to test the levels of serotonin, oxytocin, and some of the feel-good hormones, and then some of the stressors by using purely psychological stressors, some with music and some without music, just to see how it changes their brain chemistry and if music can be used in healing processes, in a nutshell.
All right, anyone else? All right, so the next question is for David. Why publish in ICESIS specifically? And how long does it usually take to publish a volume of the journal?
Two awesome questions. So the journal's publication timeline is relatively quick. The call for papers goes out at the end of January. The review of submissions starts in February, ends in March. The actual physical revisions to papers, if required, and production of the journal happen in April. And in May, your work is made visible to the world. That's our time. Why do it? Well, I think 3 reasons. One is, I hate to say it, we're in an age where being Googled is a thing. And I think it does matter when you're moving off into the world, depending on the field you want to go into, to be able to say, I've published something, and to have that one of the things that you hit when you're Googled, right? Especially if you're moving on into a graduate school context, to say you've published a research paper or a literature review can be a real benefit. I think generally speaking, writing is an underappreciated skill. I often tell people that it's not the best engineering design that makes someone rich. It's the second best design with the best written documentation that usually makes someone rich. Writing is the engine that makes nonprofits work. Writing is the engine that makes government and industry work. And writing is the industry that makes our political sphere work in many ways. So work on your writing. And while you're working on your writing, work on your writing in a way that shares your expertise with the world. Lastly, this is probably just me, but maybe someone else from the class can chime in a little bit too. My parents had no idea what college was like. I've been teaching college for what, 18 years. My mom still barely has any idea what college is like. Publishing something in a thesis, though, would be something I could have taken home to my mother and said, this is what I'm doing. When you say you're proud of me, and it warms my heart so much, I want you to understand what I'm doing that makes you proud. And this article is one of those things that you can kind of bring home at Thanksgiving and say, no, this is what I'm up to, Mom. I mean, I'm not sure that my mom would have got the brains and cancer and animal brains and stuff. Maybe that, I don't know that my mom would have got that article, but you know what I'm saying, right? That, I guess those would be the reasons I would think about it.
Okay, next question's from Matt. What was your experience with iCthesis like? And then what did you learn / gain from your experience with it?
Right. So excellent question. My experience, honestly, at the time, my thought process was like, there's no way I can write a article worthy of getting published. Like, I'm too busy. I don't have time to work on this. Like, all these things. I was like, I'll just whatever, turn in something not so good. But the more that I worked on my paper, the more I realized that, hey, this is something that I am interested in. I want to do a good job on it. And the more I worked on it, the more I got invested into it. And then the more I wanted to work on it more. So it's just kind of this cycle of spending time on it. And so it was really fulfilling when it was done and I got to submit it, because there was a lot of time invested. A lot of, reading through papers or proofreading my paper over and over again. And so I think it's like anything in life, the more you put into something, the more you get back out of it. And so I invested a lot of time in my paper, and I was fortunate enough to get published, which was, the goal of submitting a paper in the first place. And I think it really helped me learn about research, and if that was something that I wanted to pursue after my undergraduate studies. And it taught me a lot about what I might want to continue my education with. And another thing that I gained from the process was just being able to have a published paper. When I was applying for graduate schools, they almost always have a section in the application where they ask for, do you have any works that you published? And if so, like, list them here. And it felt really good to not leave that section blank, to actually have something to put in there and display as proof that I am qualified to produce work that's worthy of being published in the future. You know, if you admit me to your school, this is what I'm qualified to do. And I think it really helped me get accepted to all sorts of graduate schools. I'm actually continuing my education right now at Stanford University, where it's very normal to have published research as a prereq to get in. So I think it was really helpful to have that on my resume. So I guess to kind of sum it all up, I gained a lot of it, like personal satisfaction of knowing that I worked really hard and I got something out of it that I'm proud of, but also professional career development as something that I can reference and show to other people that I'm qualified to do this type of work and that I'm qualified to do good research that's helped me continue my education at a really great university.
All right, and this next question is for anyone who wants to answer. Do you have any advice on sending in a submission?
Include an abstract and your contact information. Or not abstract, I meant bibliography, my bad.
Oh, no, abstract is good too. Abstract is good too.
I would say send it in as early as possible. I know right now we're already getting a lot of submissions, and I think we're all going to be a lot nicer. Not that we're not going to be nice to all of them, but it's really nice right now that we have time to like read them all, and everyone has one or less than that right now. Once we start getting going and we have a lot of submissions coming in, it's going to be a lot more stressful, and so it would be nice to have them submitted as early as possible.
Basic grammar and sentence structure goes a long way. Like it'll elevate your chances of getting published significantly if the basics are done well. So don't ever feel intimidated that other people may have done more advanced research. It can be plenty adequate if you just have solid writing skills effectively when you're trying to get something published.
I'd like to add, just find something that you're genuinely interested in and pursue that. It makes working on it a lot easier if it's not like a task that you have to do to like work on your paper. If it's something you want to do, it's so much easier to get excited about it. I don't think there really is any like magic secret or like tip that if you do this, you'll for sure get published. I think it really just comes down to putting in the work, you know, doing the preliminary research, reading what other work in that field has been done, synthesizing your ideas in a way that makes sense, and proofreading your paper like 10 times. Like, I'm not kidding, like just do it, like read it through, make sure it sounds good. Don't be afraid to make adjustments and just keep working on it. I think the only secret is that it just takes time. So invest the time and you'll be happy with the results.
Going off of Matt's advice, I would strongly suggest to explore your interests very early on, because I've had multiple instances where I thought I was interested in something, and as I read into it more, I wasn't interested in it. So explore early on.
This might seem obvious, but make sure when you're submitting that you check off all of the submission requirements, because it makes it a lot easier. And then if I have to reach back out to you to get something that you forgot, the chances of me maybe just being upset because you didn't submit what you needed, and then using or having that mindset when reading through your stuff is kind of high. So make sure you're just dotting your T's and checking your I's. That's really super, super important.
Any more tips?
Maybe making sure that your work is organized. I find it really easier to read like articles that people write that have headings and subheadings, just to like break up the work. So make sure you just keep your research organized.
Also, make sure you're saying something. It's easy enough to summarize or analyze data points, but the discussion, the final bits, the results in the discussion are super, super important, especially for STEM papers, because it really provides an overview that even the introduction might not have been able to cover.
Anything else? Okay, Matt, this is for you. I know we touched on it a little bit, but would you recommend that current honor students send in a submission and aim for publication? And then why would you recommend that?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I would recommend going for it. As I mentioned, like I almost didn't like submit something to get published, and like looking back now, I would have regretted that so much, because having a published research paper, I've discovered, means a lot to a lot of people. So even if it's something that you might be hesitant about, definitely like do it. I just can't say it in any other way that you won't regret putting in the time and having something that you're proud of at the end of the day. And even if it doesn't get published by ACE thesis, if you continue to work on it and send it to other journals, there's lots of other people who are publishing all types of work, undergraduate studies even, or graduate studies. So it's definitely worth your time to find something that you're interested in and get involved with it, and see if research is something that you like and want to keep doing, or if it's something that you hate and never want to do again. There's just so many benefits to trying it out and going for it that I can't recommend it enough.
And our next question is for David. What benefits come with being published as an undergraduate?
I think we've covered most of this. The increased success in graduate school, in graduate school applications, increased visibility if future employers Google you and want to know what you're all about. You become much more attractive to romantic partners. No, I didn't say that. We're gonna edit that out. We're gonna edit that out. Richer, clearly richer. Every one of you is a millionaire, yeah? No? I'm lying? I think from my perspective, when you hone your words and you sharpen your skill with words, you become better able to move through the world and enact the kind of change that will make you happy, that will make the world a better place, whether that's professional success, political change, social change, well, any kind of change in any of the spheres in which you live.
Okay, last question. If someone is interested in being on the editorial board for future volumes, how would they go about joining? And this can be for anyone.
How did you guys get suckered into this? I mean, how did you find this wonderful opportunity?
Honestly, I saw it in an email that Joelle sent out to honors, and she was like, here's this section of honors advanced writing for this semester, or for next semester, because it was last semester that she sent this thing out. And then she said basically to reach out to her if you were interested and met the requirements to be in the class. So I just did that, and then she just sent me the enrollment information later on. So I don't know if there's a more technical way that you're supposed to get into it, but that's what I did.
Anyone else?
Sounds good.
All right, so that's all the questions we had for today. Now we're going to open up the floor to anyone who has questions for anybody. But before we do that, I just want to say a big thank you to Matt, Dr. Beard, and the board for coming and answering our questions. All right, so the floor is open. So anyone who has a question, just go ahead and jump in.
All right, so I got a question for the editorial board as they interface with the publications managers. What should we do with this 45 minutes worth of video?
Are they gonna, I thought this was like they're gonna use this as promo stuff, right? For the
Yeah,
Facebook page.
What would that look like to you?
I could see like short little, like 1 or 2 questions to a clip, so it's like under a minute, just like little promotional clips. Because also I know like a lot of people talked about what their projects were, and so that could be something to do, like a little snapshot of like projects.
And if you do it in that way, you can also, if people are okay with it, tag like their personal Facebook accounts, and then they share it there, and then it gets shared more and more people follow it. And
Nice. What are you guys visualizing? Are you visualizing something which would spotlight individual students, which seems pretty cool, especially with the projects? Spotlights individual answers to questions. How are you imagining sewing this stuff together?
I know Quinn and I have talked about asking the editorial board for interviews. Have you guys sign up so we can do spotlights on the Facebook page? And I think we were going to do it on Wednesdays for a spotlight day. And so we were going to just like maybe have like a picture. Anyone who did share their like little summary here, we could probably take a little bit of clip from this and use that. But yeah, we wanted to spotlight and get your projects out there because they sound really interesting.
Any other form you can imagine these? I mean, now I'm let's pretend I'm not a moron here, okay? Or a dumb person. I keep forgetting that word is like loading now that it's the world is changing and I need to change with it. This isn't a TikTok kind of thing, is it? Right? I mean, I could see you doing 30-second videos, but that's for humor, right?
I mean, if you made it cover the topic, people would rather watch short things. So, you know, like if you could make a 30-second video that's like, here's the deadline, here's a couple of perks, you know, of like doing it, that might be a good thing.
Does Instagram do short videos, or is that all still pictures?
Everything does short videos. Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to imagine, other than Facebook, do you see any ways for this to get out in the world that would be helpful?
I mean, if we had like a link to it, I could put the link on like the CLA Instagram when I do one of the takeovers, and then we could have people click that link and then just go and watch the video as like a, hey, like promotion, apply for this. I could do that too.
Cool. Any other ideas? No.
Since there is a requirement, like you have to be in an honors program to be able to submit, it might make sense to have even just like Joelle or other, I don't know if we like interact with other programs or anything regularly, just to send that out to like the population that could submit, just so it's not like, I don't know, here's this journal, but you can't do anything about it. So I feel like that's a little, I don't know.
We do have an email list of honors programs around the country. It's how we get some of the submissions. So you're right. Send some of these videos out to that email list, maybe. Nice. Anything else? No, yes. You is a minute the longest any of you would sit and watch one of these videos for?
Unless I already knew what it was and that I was going to submit and I just wanted more background information, probably.
Okay. That's helpful.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I agree with Grace, but like we could do maybe longer videos, like 10 compilations of all of the questions when we send them out to other programs, so that if they wanted to, they could slice them up however they want when they show it to their students. But the 1 or 2 minute long videos on Facebook could be really helpful.
Nice. I like it. So something if we had like a how-to video for someone who's already interested in submitting, that could be longer. or a compilation video. If somebody finds the short videos thrilling, the longer video could be a compilation of the shorter videos. Maybe was that how I'm understanding it? Is that how you guys were thinking about this, Michaela and Quinn?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you all. This was very well done. If I put you on the spot to talk, Naomi, and it made you uncomfortable, I'm a little bit sorry about it, but I'm also really grateful to hear everybody talk. And if you didn't feel comfortable talking in this context, but want to be like talking individually with Michaela and Quinn later in life, get in touch with them. So that you can participate in the promotion of the project as you get closer. Some people may not want to be ready to talk, right? Some projects are still definitely sprouting wings. Very cool. Okay. Wednesday, we're going to look at the examples of the brave human beings who have already submitted drafts of their literature reviews, and we will be able to talk about them. If you're someone who's not that far along in your project, don't worry. No stress. Not everybody's in the same spot in this class. Oh, and even the chat fills with worry and stress. Ideally, there are ways to balance all of the workload so that everything gets done properly, right? If you find yourself falling behind now, volunteer to read some extra thesis papers early. Send me a note saying, hey, you want to do your full thesis load early so that you don't have to worry about it later, or talk to me about ways to upload. Some students have already uploaded old URITs. In other words, what I'm saying again is don't worry, because I will customize the deadlines to enable your success. If you're interested in succeeding, I'm interested in supporting that success. Okay. If you can't be here Wednesday, a couple of students have talked to me about being unable to be here Wednesday. There will be an audio recording. Anything else we should talk about? There's a deep cynicism on Hannah's face at the moment. And now they're laughing. Okay, I'll take it. No, I will add just one more thing. So in addition to this class, I also teach a night class, which starts at 5:30. And because it starts at 5:30, students have a fairly understandable, I don't want my camera on while I'm cooking and eating vibe, which I'm totally supportive of. Except then, like, the class goes for 3 hours, and 3 hours later, most of them have not turned their cameras back on again. And so I'm staring into emptiness for 3 hours, and you can probably tell I'm a little bit insecure about whether or not what I'm saying is clearly communicated. Hence the irritating habit of saying, does that make sense? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Begging for feedback of any kind. And it's so much worse if everyone's cameras are off. So I'm deeply appreciative of the attention you guys pay to this class, and the way you interact with each other, and the way you interact with me. And today, the way you interacted with Quinn and Michaela. So thank you all for everything, and I'll see you Wednesday.
And Dr. Beard, I won't be coming on Wednesday, right?
Yes. We're just, that's the baseline presumption for you. That's why, in fact, I threw that sentence, that bit about Wednesday. There'll be a recording in there specifically for you, to be honest.
Sweet. And then are you gonna like email that out, that recording?
If you don't have it by Friday, send me an email to remind me to send it to you. It usually takes about a day for the recording to get to me. And then once it gets to me, if I have enough time, I'll pop it on Canvas. If I don't remember to pop it on Canvas, send me an email and say, David, I really need that. Can you just forward it to me? Okay, and I will do that if you remind me, okay?
And is it okay that I just direct messaged you about wanting to do work earlier? Do you want me to send you an email about that?
I saw it. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
sweet. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
So I'm sorry, I'm sure you had something planned for this time that you guys stayed behind for.
No, that's all good.
Okay, I just wanted to check. So I submitted like for the first draft thing, I did submit something, but I'm still really not sure if that is what I actually want to go with to submit, or if I want to use my literature review for my UROP, which like I did the draft of the UROP, so I have that topic.
Yeah.
And so I'm very, just it makes me nervous to have other people in this class read that initial one when I'm not sure that's the direction I'm going, because I'm not sure if it's like valid enough because of the small scale. And I also know that a lot of people in here are doing like a little bit more legitimate of research, because that was very much like a preliminary
I don't want to use
review.
But I hear you. Don't want me to
Yeah.
your example used on Wednesday. Is that the message you're sending? I'm happy to.
Yes, if that's possible.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. As long as there's enough like other stuff to go around, just because I'm
If there's
like,
not another stuff to go around, I will pretend that someone else wants to write about yous.
okay, sounds good.
Okay, don't worry about
Thank
it.
you.
Good job.
Should we stop the recording?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.